Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Esports Night, the 10th edition here. My name is Wolf Schroeder. I'm with Ending Life, and we've got some special Brood War action coming at you guys tonight. We have two 1v1 matches, one at the beginning, one at the end, and a 2v2 in the middle. How are you feeling tonight, Ending?
Well, as you just mentioned, the 2v2 is going to be the day for me, the game to cast that I wanted to do. I don't think there's been any casts regarding 2v2 on this map in the past in StarCraft.
Yeah, I don't think so. Like, not officially anyways.
Yeah.
And we are going to have...
official.
Should we tell them the map or should we keep it a surprise? Let's keep it a surprise. Yeah. Okay. The map's going to be really fun. We're going to get into that a little bit later. We have a lot of legends playing this evening. Obviously, Flash is one of the bigger names playing. Yep. We have Best playing as well. Queen, the recent ASL champion, is playing. So a big list of players. We'll get more into that later. Stork is playing as well. Yep. But it's going to be a really exciting night of StarCraft Brood War. I haven't commented StarCraft in quite some time, so I'm pretty excited to get into this a little bit and have some fun with you on this show. And I do want to say, for those at home watching, do get the word out about this tournament, because I don't know if there's, in the global side of things, there have been that many announcements about it. This tournament, to also give you guys a little bit of extra details, is taking place in beautiful, dynamic Busan. Yeah. Great city, beautiful city here in Korea. If you get a chance to visit Korea, definitely check out Busan. But it's happening in Busan. We, the casters, the English casters, are still in Seoul, so we're not live on site. But the event is taking place there. So that's why you're going to see kind of, it shoots over to us a little bit, and then it shoots back over to the live studio.
It definitely is, and I'm kind of glad in a way that we're here instead of Busan because of the COVID pandemics. But seems like we are onto the overview. Yeah,
here's the overview. Of course, we do have our first round is a 1v1, and it's going to be a best of 3. Then we're going to have one game of 2v2. It's our second round.
Yep.
And then, of course, our third match will be another 1v1. The players we have here, as I mentioned before, Flash, Stork, Queen, and Best. All 4 players will be playing in the 2v2, and then we'll have our first match is going to be a PvP between Stork and Best, and then the final match will be between Flash and Queen. And you can see the prizes below as well. Those are individually for each round. So winner of round 1, 3 million, then 2 million for the 2v2, and then 3 million
4
again.
million.
Or 4 million, sorry, excuse me.
Yeah, so like you said, like each round, so we're gonna get to see all 3 series instead of, this is not a team game where, if one team wins the first 2, we don't get to see it. But yeah, we do have the entry and the maps for you guys.
Yeah, and so, since we weren't gonna say what the map was, it does say what the 2v2 map is, but because it's in Korean, not everyone can read this, so we're just gonna, only Korean speakers will know. And then we'll keep it a secret. But for both the 1v1s, we're going Shakura's Temple, Polyploid, and then Circuit Breakers, that order.
Yeah, for both round 1 and 3, and this is going to be interesting because the matchup for, game number 1, it's going to be Stork versus Best, which is going to be a PvP, and personally, I don't like playing or watching PvPs, but this is the lineup and this is the setup, so yeah, we'll get into that very soon.
Yeah, this is a really cool studio setup we have as well with all 4 players.
That is.
Obviously, you mentioned the PvP will be the first matchup, but both Flash and Queen can get ready for the 2v2 and the next matchup. For all we know, Flash could be streaming right now.
They had the cameras. Like, you know what? I'm just gonna turn on my stream.
Well, it looks like we're gonna introduce all 4 players actually before we get straight into the 1v1. So we had Flash. Here's Stork, of course, very famous player in his own time. Queen, aka Zero, and then Best will be the 4th player. It's crazy to me to cast these players after casting all of them in StarCraft 1, but also some of them in StarCraft 2. I think I actually cast everyone except Zero in StarCraft 2 because all the 3 of the other players had a pretty decent career in StarCraft 2 before going back to Brood War when Remastered came out.
Yeah, definitely, and I'm very interested to see because Stork, I know he loves going carriers regardless of who he's going up against. So we'll see if he still has it in him to go carriers on a PvP, or maybe Best knows that he might just cheese rush something. So it's gonna be fun. The only reason I said I did dislike the PvP is because if you go like the traditional build, the build order Dragoons, Zealous Dragoons, like moving all the Reaver drops, like it it really becomes really dull in the middle part of the game. So we'll see how this plays out, though.
Yep, looks like the players are ready. Gotta love the classic Brood War countdown screen. As we head to it, Best's got his white clan tag there at the end. So we're heading into Shikuris Temple as our first map. We have vertical spawns here.
Ooh.
And, you guys could see the colors of where the spawn locations are. It is a PvP.
Yeah.
Stork blue, Best red, if I read that correctly.
Oh, you did it exactly the opposite.
Oh, I messed it up.
Best is blue at 1 o'clock. Stork is red.
I'm fired. It's over.
It's fine. It's fine. Stork is at 5 o'clock, so we'll see how this happens.
Yeah, so you're not a big PvP fan. I actually really like PvP because, I used to be a Terran player in StarCraft 1, but after StarCraft 2, I played Pross, and then I kind of became addicted to how easy the race is to play. And especially with Brood War, when you go back to it, it's really hard. And Pross, I feel like, is the easiest race to pick up and learn. I almost feel like it's a factual thing. It's not even an opinion at this point. It's very simple race to learn. But I really like in PvP, every unit is strong, and so you have with Dragoon micro, Zealot micro, for example, if you had to proxy, we'd be going in this case. Every decision you make, even on the smallest scale, can actually make a huge impact in the fight. Whether it's microing your Reaver incorrectly and losing it, or your shuttle, or one of your Dragoons you try to pull back, get stuck behind other Dragoons, and then you lose that Dragoon and the other Dragoon that's bumping into it. I find that's really fun to me. It's a very micro-intensive matchup, and every unit is extremely powerful.
Exactly, and I'm glad that you mentioned about that, small mistakes, because like PvT, PvZ, or any other non-mirror matchups, you can make small mistakes, but you can make up for it because you have the opponent is a different race. You can get Templars for Storms to make up for a couple of Dragoons lost in the process of a fight. But in PvP, small mistakes is gonna cost you because it's literally a mirror matchup. So the other side having literally 1 or 2 more Dragoons compared to you can actually turn the game around because you made a couple mistakes in micros. So we'll see if any of these 2 players will make that mistake. But like you were saying before, these 2 guys have the experience. They have the offline stage experience, obviously. They are legends in StarCraft, so it's gonna be fun to actually point out any mistakes they do make.
Yeah, it will really be interesting to see. So Stork actually scouted top left first, and now that he sees Best probe, he's going to go directly to the bottom right because he knows there's no way that at the timing the scout arrived, that reasonably, Best is scouting bottom right. There's no way that the probe could have arrived from cross spawn, so that's why he's going directly across counter now. Best is to go ahead and scout a little probe harassment. It's pretty standard openings here, no proxies, nothing crazy.
Nope.
And once the first Dragoons get out here, probes are pushed away, that's when we're going to get a better idea of what the opening is here. Obviously, the scout here on the Dragoon range is important because if you're doing some crazy rush, players might skip that, but usually you don't. And it can be canceled, obviously, but you want to verify that if you can, and they both do before the Dragoons come out.
Yeah, so like you were saying, it's a very, very standard old school opening when you're going up against a PvP, right, in a mirror match. Say we're not seeing any proxies or cheese. So this is one of the reasons why, I'm going to point it out again, why I don't like watching PvPs. If both the Protoss players are going the standard build with the Dragoons into the range upgrades, and then they're going to pull out the second Dragoon and make a second Gateway, yada yada, like you guys know if you guys obviously been playing. And, we'll see if anything different will happen. We might just get a Dragoon into a Reaver right away.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be Reaver openings on both sides. Probe here just going to verify a second Dragoon. I also wanted to see if they were both going to move across the map. Because neither player obviously knows it's going to be a robo. There are some builds where you hide second gateway and you come across the map with 3 Dragoons suddenly, and then things get really nasty. So I just wanted to confirm the Dragoon count where the Dragoons were.
Yep.
And everything is pretty standard at the moment. And you talked about not really liking this matchup because it can be very volatile. You can just lose the game suddenly. It does feel like there's, obviously both players are making the same units. But what's your take on Reaver micro? Because that's actually I think nobody really likes Reaver microing in-game, but I think watching it can be quite fun.
Oh, it's hilarious. With the Scarab literally just twitching all over, between, probes because they can't decide on which one to explode on, and then it all of a sudden just vanishes.
Yeah, there's a dud. It's a dud. It doesn't go off. Yeah, that happens.
It's a Kmart scarab, unfortunately, right? It's a cheap version, and it literally just vanishes. You got to refund that one, but. Yeah, like Reaver micros, obviously it is one of the things that is very important, especially on a PvP, to get your workers, to get your opponent's workers down in numbers. So obviously we're going to see that going into this matchup because both of them are going to that or going with that standard build. So I'm just excited to see any of those scarab twitches, or if there are any that will be coming out. Here we go with the shuttle coming out already.
Well, yeah, something else to talk about too, I suppose, as to why both players are very likely doing the same build here: Gate, Robo, and second Gate Expand. And we see obviously a faster Nexus here for Best. The spawn locations make it really easy for a shuttle to actually drop either location. So if you're trying to walk across the map, even though the distance is not that long, the shuttle is going to close that distance way faster, so you're almost required in these spawning locations to go for the fast shuttle, or at least keep your Dragoons at home. And if you do that, then you can't pressure on the map, so it just ends up being the best option for both players in this case. Faster Observer here across the map for Best, though, whereas the shuttle, you can see, is out and now seen on Stork's side of the map, so he has the faster Reaver in the shuttle.
Well, with Best having that information gathered, I think he might want to just, you saw Best kind of come out and then pull back because he knows that he wants to try to snipe down the shuttle before, because he saw Stork already coming through with the shuttle, so he doesn't want anything to go down, especially in his actually main base should be his main defense right now with a couple of Dragoons, but maybe he wants to cut it off before it goes in.
He wants to, I mean, this timing is perfect for Stork because he actually forces the Nexus to finish.
Boom. That's a big one.
The Reaver is actually, the Reaver of Best is kind of trapped up on the high ground here.
Oh my goodness, this is already basically GG here, unfortunately. I don't want to call it out too fast, but like you were saying, this is why. It's like, oh my god, now the drone's gonna come in, the Reaver.
So,
you pointed out a good point where, Best Reaver was on top of the ramp. Yeah, like the high ground is great, but if your Reaver's stuck and your Dragoons are blocking its way and you can't attack, then it's bad.
Yeah, and unfortunately, like in this case, like he decided to keep the Nexus. I mean, there's the GG. The Nexus coming up, obviously, for Best. I thought Stork was going to expand as well, but he skipped Observer, so he had the faster Reaver. He didn't make a Nexus, and he just had the sense that Best was going to expand, so he goes in for the faster attack. And sometimes in an ironic way, like Observer first isn't safer. It gives you information, but it doesn't. Sometimes what you see is what you can't stop, right? In this case, the Observer sees the Reaver, and he had to make a tough choice. Does he cancel the Nexus? That's why the timing is so perfect, because the Nexus is finishing as he arrives there. If you let it finish and then lose it, then you're extremely behind. So you have to fight for it. You can't cancel at that point because you've lost everything else in your build up to that point. So he decided to fight with the Nexus, trying to use the Nexus kind of a buffer for his Dragoons, but he ended up retreating anyways. The Reaver is stuck, and just a build order mismatchup. That's PvP for you sometimes.
Exactly, and another thing I want to mention is that the Nexus, the 400 minerals, right? Stork didn't get that second Nexus fast, so he had a couple more Dragoons in his play as well. So, like we were talking about, 1 or 2 more Dragoons will make the difference. Even though in this matchup with the Reaver being stuck and Stork's Reaver actually doing a ton of good splash damage onto Best Dragoon, I don't think he even needed that 1 or 2 extra Dragoons to win. But either way, at the end of the day, the build mismatch, like you were talking about, is a big thing, especially on mirror matches.
Yeah, and as we go into Polypoid for our next map, which is a very complicated map, I think it will probably go a little bit longer than what we just saw, just because of the terrain of the map. I think we'll probably see a more interesting game. And PvP can go this way, and I think a lot of people don't like it for that reason. But a lot of mirror matchups in Brood War, I feel like PvP and ZVZ often kind of go this way. You get a build order mismatchup, and it's not always an auto loss, but it's very difficult, right? You have it's a mismatch that doesn't favor you, and you're frustrated, and it's hard to kind of react in those situations. That's when micro comes into play. How do you outplay your opponent with less stuff? I mean, it's a thing that you can do. In fact, if you played the same scenario over 100 times, the Best would find a way to defend that. But in the moment, it doesn't work out. But When you go into PvP where it doesn't end like that, it gets a little bit more complex. It's a lot more micro-based. And there are other builders too, besides like, oh, we both made Reavers, but yours was faster, and I made a Nexus and I died.
Yeah.
Like, there's proxy gates, there's DT openings. You know, there's 2 gateway openings where you pressure to expand without a Reaver, then get a late Reaver. There's so many different ways this matchup is played.
Yeah, and like, you know, a couple of ways that you were talking about, like where a PvP can go a little bit different is, you know, like if they meet in the middle instead of, you know, one pressuring the other in front of their expansion, or they just don't fight, right? Like they don't fight until, like, you know, when you're solo queuing or playing with your friends, like, oh, no rush 10 minutes, no rush 5 minutes, right? Like if literally the pro players sometimes they decide not to pressure each other and like they don't fight for like 5 to 10 minutes, then they have a couple units to defend their base as well as some Reaver drops as well. So like when PvP prolongs for at least, you know, 5 to 10 minutes, then it kind of does get interesting because we do see some DTs, maybe some Templars or Reaver drops as well, just for the expansion parts. But when you get a pressure like this, where you saw in game number 1, where one is literally just, you know, stomping over the other because of the build order, the other person, the loser, got that fast expansion, which they're going to be lacking in 400 minerals, is going to make a huge difference, especially on PvP in the first, you know, early games.
Yeah, no, it does. I mean, the early game is where those sorts of small differences are bigger, right? Like I was talking about before, every unit is so strong.
Yeah.
You have the Reaver first. The other Reaver can't shoot because it's stuck on the ramp.
Yeah.
So that Reaver's doing insane splash damage. You can't win the fight with slightly less Dragoons as well. In that situation very easily without, you know, canceling your Nexus, maybe going to the high ground or fanning your Dragoons out better, or making a more decisive move.
Yeah.
It's like I said, it's not unwinnable. Just because you lose, you know, you make a small mistake in like a chess game and lose your bishop early and you're down that piece in the early part of chess, you can still come back. It is possible, right? But a lot of people will resign, right? After losing the first piece, if it's lost in a mistake or something like that. But yeah, I mean, in the late game, if we go to it, you can see Psystorm drops. You can see all sorts of stuff. We're not here just to, you know, tell you guys about how PvP works, but it was something you and I were talking about. Because of how much you dislike it before the show started.
So. I was like, oh my god, why is it a PvP from game number 1, right? And then you're like, oh, I kind of like PvP. I was like, not gonna cast with you ever again.
We're going right into game number 2 now, though, between Stork and Best here. As we head into it. Cross spawns as well this time here on Polypoid. So I think we're going to see a better, more interactive, longer Protoss versus Protoss here.
I hope so. Because, you know, as long as the outcome of this game isn't very similar to game number 1, I will be satisfied as someone who dislikes PvP, right?
Yeah.
Like, I want to see some fights with, you know, like both of the sides kind of maxing out or possibly getting close to maxing out in units and supplies. Like, then it gets kind of interesting because, you know, like each player, even though it is a mirror PvP match, they have their preferences, right? Like, of what they want to go. Like I said, like Stork, sometimes back in the day, like he would just carrier all the time. Like it doesn't matter who he's going up against.
Yeah.
He would try to carrier, and when he gets the carrier arbiter, like he would win. Carrier storm, like he would win. But like like now, you know, it's not back in the days anymore, right?
Sure.
So we'll see what happens here. But like,
I mean, Stork was playing a lot of carrier PvT in his last few televised matches. You know, the ASL is still going on. There's still a lot of Blue War pro games, but he's not. This is not Stork's Dragon era. We're not at that stage at this moment.
He's kind of like the Elder Dragon now. He's kind of old now. He's sitting there in the bag as a legend.
And he does give a large buff to viewership.
Oh yeah, definitely does.
I will say that you know, in terms of best play, when I commentated him, he was usually the aggressor actually. So in this case, like it's kind of ironic I say that because he played the more defensive, more Nexus-oriented, expansion-based build, and got punished for it at vertical spawns. So scouts coming out now. And it looks like we're just going to see the vertical scouts first.
Yep.
And because, you know, they're both going to see empty, they should both find their pawns on the next scout. No one's going to go cross with no other information because that's just not how math works.
Definitely not. But I just got a glimpse of both of the sides, and we're going to see another standard build coming out on a PvP. I guess nothing cheesy coming from both sides. We're gonna see that Dragoon into the Reaver probably here.
Yeah, it's just too hard on a 4-player map, which is kind of the standard nowadays in Brewer. There were a lot of 1v1 maps back in the day. Everyone who played, like on Icy Cup and Fish, like knows about Destination, or Desti, as it was always called, like when in my Battle.net channels.
I'm a Pythons guy.
You're a Python?
Yeah, I'm a Python guy.
I like Fighting Spirit.
Okay, Fighting Spirit's okay. Like I don't know. Like I started with Lost Temple into Python, so I was like, yeah, like the standard original 4v4 maps were my things, but nowadays it's just too hard. Everybody's too good.
Everyone is really good. Yeah. I tell you what.
There's no dudes.
Playing on when the first remastered matchmaking came out, I thought like, oh, finally I'll find someone of my skill level, right? Because matchmaking worked. Before you just had to like join a game and like you spammed games, and then like you kept joining lobbies, and like that guy's like, he's like, D+ only you join, but he doesn't like your elo, or he doesn't like your username, so he just kicks you. Or you like pick Zerg, and he's like, and he just like kicks you out. It was pretty terrible. We actually have matchmaking now, but as it turns out, like everyone's better than me no matter what. It feels like.
That's how it is for me too. So now I just watch the games and enjoy it.
So look at this though. There's a little hidden probe out here for Stork. May just be a delayed scout he's going to try to go for, but he also could hide something here. Dragoon does not check far enough to actually identify that. So interesting, and also extremely fast Nexus here for best. Actually, even faster than the previous game. Stork's probe looks like it is just going to be for that delayed scout. Well, I say that.
Well, I want to see a proxy robotics and get a fast Reaver drop right from 3 o'clock right up into Beth's base. That could be. But this Stork builder.
I think the build lines up for that. It's too late, right? I think he just wants to see if there's a Nexus, but I think the Dragoon should deny it. It's going to be close. Look, he's going to check.
Okay. Yeah, there we go.
And we'll get a vision check
he
probably. Definitely
assume, but yeah, assumptions in StarCraft is really bad, so.
I don't think he got to see that. No, I think it was just out of range.
Yeah, he didn't. He definitely didn't get to see it. But here we go. This time around, Stork is also going that double Nexus here in front for his expansion. And, like PvP early game, like playing it a little bit slow like this, the way they are doing right now, I like it better because at the end of the middle and the end of the game gets more interesting. Whereas when you see a fast ending like we did in game number 1, it's kind of like, that wasn't really interesting at all. So like in game number 2, I like the way this is going right now.
Yeah, I mean this is a more developed game where both players are taking a somewhat of a risk to make the Nexus, but at the same time, it's cross spawns. They both identified that. Stork even attempted to see if the Nexus was up, and based on the Dragoon positioning, he can't know for sure, but it feels like, okay, it would be crazy if Best is doing anything else at cross spawns. Yeah. Remember last map, we had on Shakuris, the vertical spawns allowing for like faster Reavers to be flown across if someone did try to do an aggressive push, and you defend it, top of your ramp, and you drop, kill a bunch of probes. So this time with cross spawns, there is no like fast track to getting a Reaver to your opponent's base. There is no fast track to getting your Dragoons across the map. So you see a much slower game as a result. And this game will probably be decided by a factor of who gets the third, like how the third bases go, but also how the micro goes.
Yeah, definitely.
These two players.
Definitely, and you can see that we do see a slower game like you mentioned. However, I think the first step or first obstacles for both of these players are going to be defending against that first a wave of Reaver drops, I want to say, because like we saw before in game number 1, we're probably not going to see a pressure with the Reaver and Dragoon in the front in the expansion, because we would have already seen that happen if it were to happen. So now we're going to go into that slower Reaver drop, possibly some pros being killed here and there, and depending on who defends against that Reaver drop better, I think it's going to have the upper hand.
Notice that Stork had his observer here, and actually, in fact, aggressively positioned it because he knew the exact timing at which Best observer was going to get there. He attacked move instead of like right-click moving to then one-shot it, so it is going to escape. But So right now you can see Best's observer is being tracked, so he actually isn't getting a lot of info about what's going on inside Stork's base. Meanwhile, Stork has actually scouted the entirety of Best's base, knows it's a mirror build, like they're both doing the same thing. So right now, vision-wise, huge advantage to Stork. And what he knows doesn't give him a huge hint of like, I could beat him right now or anything like that. But the information he gleaned makes him know that he's safe. And it looks like he's even going to push out with a second Reaper to try to maybe take this mineral base here. Yeah. Meanwhile, Best is trying to get aggressive.
Yeah, you can see Best's shuttle swaying away from his Dragoons, but yeah, Stork is prep for that. He's
got pylons to see.
He's got the pylons, he's gonna see it, but you have to know, Dragoons are all in front of his expansion. He does get the information. We'll see if Stork reacts to this right away, and he doesn't. He's a little bit slow,
late,
so
yeah.
We'll see if this Reaver can get some.
Probes are being pulled. He's still gonna lose a few here for sure. Zealots first. You know what? He didn't. Yeah, he actually didn't really lose a whole lot there. And at the front, he's in totally good shape.
He did lose the 2 probes that were gathering the gas, but it's not a big deal here, obviously. So, yeah, he shook up Stork a little bit, but it's not going to be a big deal where you think, all right, it's GG again, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. He defended pretty well. He bruised the Dragoons of Best at the front of the base. He lost some mining time, and he doesn't have any sort of counter pressure of his own because he went for a second Reaver instead of shuttle. Yeah. So he took a more defensive posture because he was probably planning on taking that third base we were talking about.
Yep.
But now he's actually moving across the map with his own shuttle, and he knows the Dragoons are, you can't see the health bars because it's a brood war, but the Dragoons are pretty heavily damaged, right? He knows that, so he's actually thinking he could take a pretty direct engagement right at the front here. The risk, though, is that Best could drop again in his base, but he's not. So this is actually a really favorable position for Stork, who also can now start to put some pressure on in the main base.
Yeah, and Best has no idea at 12 o'clock with the shuttle coming through, but he's just assuming that he's going to get a drop here. So all the Dragoons are up there, obviously, nicely planned, and now we have that frontal fight going on here.
Ooh, huge Reaver hits here, though, ending. This is looking really bad for Best. Look at the Zealots as well, tanking the Reaver shots of Best. Like, he actually didn't really get much done there. Okay, this is not what he wants, though.
Okay, Stork is going to pull back.
Yeah, he was looking elsewhere, I think, at that moment.
Yeah, but if Stork did get that double Reaver drop into Best's base, I think that would have been huge. I think it was a good call and good movement, good micro decision for Best to pull some Dragoons back.
He actually also doesn't have vision up here ending too of where these Reavers are, so that's why he walked into those shots, because even though the Reavers would be that far forward, he's going to try to cut around the bottom here. And maybe take like that concave advantage, but it doesn't end up happening. I feel like consistently throughout this map, Stork has always had the better vision. He had the vision of the shuttles, his observers are in better places, he's picked off Best observers, Best didn't have the observer on the high ground there for the Reaver shots. And even though this is not a game-ending advantage that Stork gleaned from this, he has controlled the map, which means he's not even necessarily forced to take the mineral-only base if he wants to expand next. He could potentially even take a gas base here, which would put him massively ahead. He can't do it yet, he doesn't feel comfortable yet, but he's getting to that point with his control of the map.
It definitely is, but this time Best has the upper hand with the higher ground, but the Reaver drop will pull him back, and this fight could have gone Best's way if he had the other Dragoons up there with them, but he only had a couple up there, so now he's going to get pushed back here. Double Reaver from Stork is actually working really hard, getting some good shots.
Yeah, the Stork's Dragoons are bunched up a lot here. They are taking a ton of damage, so it looked like an amazing fight for Stork. It ended up being good. Could have been better for sure, but Best is just running out of steam here. He doesn't have anything left to tank for these Reavers anymore. He is going to pick up and get out with some of these. It looks like he's going to try to trade. I think he hits those as well. I believe he actually got a hit off one of those. But I mean, he's pretty much dead here now. Like, there's just not enough.
Definitely not, and we do still have a few Reavers, and that's now one goes down, and that's basically about it. The Zealots will take damage from the double Reavers from Stork. This is seeming like Stork's Reaver control was a little bit better.
Yeah, he had the better positioning. The Reaver positioning for him allowed him to get those shots off, and he hit Dragoons like 3 times before Best Reavers even fired once, because they were at a safer, you could argue, position towards the back, but they lose a lot of damage, and probes are going to die.
12 kills, 11 kills on the 2 Reavers.
He doesn't have to target probes because there's like nothing to defend here. This game is probably just going to end with a GG, and the series will end with it. Did have one little dud there.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, oh, is it coming out? The DTs do come out, but will the
he has an observer.
Yeah, he has a observer as well, and he's just going for the close.
He will actually survive this.
Yeah.
Well, probably.
Well,
nope.
Did he pick it up? Oh,
GG. I was gonna see if he's gonna survive, but he's so behind. It doesn't matter. He types out anyways.
Yeah. Well, like, this is what happens. Like, to be honest, like, when the first wave at the middle fight happened, the high grounds, right? When I pointed out where Best had his Dragoons and Zealots divided, when he had the control of high grounds, I think he should have taken it's not even a huge risk, he should have taken a small risk of just putting all the Dragoons up there with the Zealots to defend the high grounds, but he had them separated where Stork noticed that, and he literally sent everything that he had to take control of the high ground, and then he ended up winning with the Reaver control like you were talking about, and I think that was a turning point where Best literally had to just keep falling back little by little, and eventually it was in front of his face.
Yeah, and the control of the map that Stork had throughout the entirety of that game allowed him to take those high ground positions. He allowed him to place his Reavers at the front like that, which allowed him to get those volleys off on the Dragoons. If you don't have control of the map and you put your Reavers at the front like that, they might get picked off, or they might get hit by a Scarab, lose half their health. You know, you can fall into really bad positions, or rather bad situations. So that's the end of that series. And we'll be jumping to round 2 after a short break, but that short break is probably just going to be us on camera. Actually,
oh, we might be going.
We are going to a real break.
A very short break.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here. Well, we aren't there, but the players are there in beautiful Busan, in the Busan Arena, and myself and Ending are here in Seoul. That's Kanata on the right. I'm not familiar who the person who's casting with him is, actually. I tried to look up earlier. He's probably an ex-pro gamer, but good to see Kanata still doing StarCraft. Yeah. For those who watched Pro League back in the day that I commentated with Valdez, Kanata was one of the big commentators on the Korean side during that era, and a Brood War pro gamer himself.
Yeah, definitely. It's great to see. Like, I'm still glad that the ex-pros are in the scene, whether they are casting, they're still playing, or joining orgs as a streamer, but they still stream StarCraft Brood War instead. Like, I'm a Brood War fan. Like, nothing against StarCraft 2. But obviously, I started with Brood War, so it's like I'm gonna stick with Brood War, and like especially like Boxer, and he joins T.E.N, streams a lot of StarCraft as well. So like all these old school OG StarCraft pros like still sticking with StarCraft. It's just so great to see.
Yeah, it's never gonna go away in Korea. I really truly believe that. If it was gonna fade away, it would have been gone. It's still here, 20 years later. Remastered, baby.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's fun to commentate this again and get to work with you again as well. And the players we're commentating are actual legends as well. And Flash and Queen, who are playing after our 2v2 we're about to have, are by far the best players, I think, right now in Brood War. So they get to play against each other, which is really fun and exciting. Flash didn't make the finals of ASL. He was playing randomly, so who could really judge him? But
no, I want to judge him. Like, why are you randoming, bro? Right? Like, Terran just
he lost in Game 5 to Soma, I think, in the semifinals as well. So he almost made the finals. Yeah. Hard to say if he would have ended up winning the whole thing against Queen, but we can we could turn the finals, which would have been best of 5, into a best of 3 if Flash had. We could do this alternate universe thing where Flash does make the finals. Yeah. How does he do against Queen? Formerly known as Zero, obviously, for those people who are like, who's Queen? He's Zero.
But yeah.
People change their names a lot recently because in Korea, you don't call the players by their nicknames, their IDs, you call them by their real names. So it doesn't actually matter in Korea, but for the West, people are like, why do they always do that?
Yeah, exactly. So, nicknames will be changed a lot. I'm surprised that Flash and like Stork and Boxer, like they're so famous that they don't really need to change the name. Like, and recently, like I see Queen or Zero, aka Zero, playing Zerg, and I was like, oh, I miss Jedong, right? From the back in the day where he used to be the champion, but now it's like, I've asked around the ex-pros, and I was like, yeah, Jedong's not been performing that well.
No, he has certainly not. He has certainly not.
He's been potatoing his games a lot, so I was like, okay, that makes sense why, he's not coming out, he's like, he's back practicing, I guess. But like Jedong, like Boxer back in the day, Nada, like all these ex-pros, like I still want to see them because this is an event match, right? It's not like an official tournament league. So like it would have been better to see more ex-pros kind of gathering and like playing the new pros coming here.
Yeah, we got Stork, we got Flash.
Yeah, that's good enough. I think.
Didn't get Jedong though.
No.
He didn't make it.
No, he didn't make it.
But yeah, I mean, to talk about Jedong for a second, because I actually finally have a StarCraft platform to talk about Jedong. He has been performing very badly in the last few years. But I think the really special and cool thing about Jedong is his fans actually like always support him no matter what.
Oh yeah.
I think Jedong's StarCraft Brood War fans are probably. I mean, the word fan comes from fanatic, right? But like they are quite fanatical, right?
Yeah.
They love him. They cheer him on. They root for him. Even when I watched him, the last time I watched him play live at the ASL when he lost, the fans like kind of like chanted like cheering for him, like it's gonna be okay, etc. As he was walking out of the studio, like they're doing the winners interview. I can't remember who beat him, but it was like Piano or something. Doing the winners interview. It might have been Sharp too. I'm not sure, but anyway. They're doing the winners interview and like all the fans like following Jedong out of the studio. He's not in this tournament and he hasn't been performing well, but he's not been forgotten. I will say.
He definitely hasn't, and I think we are moving into that 2v2. You guys didn't get to see what map it was because it was only written in Korea. When you see the map, some of you might not like it as much, but you're gonna have to deal with it because I like it.
Well, yeah, so we talked about the players already. I guess we should tell people the teams. It's Flash Stork versus Queen Best, so as you can see here. I said it the opposite way of how it's displayed on screen, but it seems it's still the same.
Well, you guys
there's
see
the map. Okay, it's not going to be a Pro League 2v2 map. It's not going to be 2v2 on Fighting Spirit.
No.
It's fastest map
ever possible, yeah. And yeah, like I said before at the introduction, I was like, you've never seen this in a tournament. Obviously, this is an event match. This set number 2 or game number 2 is event match. And it's gonna be fun. I've never casted this. So.
No, neither have I. So this is kind of my first experience with StarCraft. Let's talk about it for a moment. 8-player, he says, or eight people, but it's actually a 6-player variation of the map with the spawns. When I played StarCraft, I played the campaign, and then all my Korean friends in school actually were big StarCraft fans, so they all got me a copy, or got me into playing. I got a copy, and then I was like, so we're playing like, because I had only played the campaign, so I'm like, Lost Temple, that's a map I've heard about, let's play on that. And they were like, nobody plays that, that's like for tryhards. I was like, what do you mean? They're like, yeah, that's so lame, like you mine's so slow, it's so boring. We're gonna play on fastest. And actually fastest was like my first experience with competitive StarCraft and really like competitive online gaming. In general, and then after playing this for a while and eventually getting better than most of my friends, eventually after a long period of time, then I started playing like for real and watching Pro League and stuff like that. But the thing about fastest possible map, I mean, pretty much everybody knows it is. It looks like there's only one mineral patch, but it's actually a ton of mineral patches stacked on top of each other.
Do we even need to explain this? Because
well, I mean, some people might be watching who are like esports fans who've never actually played fastest, right?
I guess.
But just to explain, like the mining happens really fast.
Yeah.
There's no limit. All the workers can mine simultaneously, up to I think 100 stacks. I'm not even 100% sure how many stacks.
Like when people make this map, they don't count. They don't do 100 stacks of mineral. They literally just spam their mouse like, brrr, and like you could. I'm pretty sure there's more than 100 stacks, but. Yeah,
there might be,
that. Yeah, that's that. And also, like, when I recently started playing again, like fastest, right? Like, I got sick of the try-hard maps, and I was like, I would kind of like play around on fastest map. And nowadays, 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock, they don't spawn, so they made it a six-player map because 12 and 6 o'clock, people started saying, oh, the position's so bad, right? So it's like, all right, we'll get rid of it. We'll make it a 3v3 map, and only the spawns on the left and the right side would spawn people. So that's that as well for a little.
That's why I think it was Best earlier was talking about the 8-player variation very much earlier. This is not No Rush 10 or anything like that, by the way. Like, you could see very fast, aggressive Zergling push coming in here. And there's a bunker set up. There's now a second bunker, and a few SCVs are already ready to prepare. So this is not going to work, but it's a cannon rush on top of it. Now the bunker's already in place to stop the cannon rush. There are zealots coming as well, so this actually gets like a little bit tricky.
Well, as long
he's going to have to cancel it though.
Ooh, yeah, I think he does. Yeah, so I started noticing that the blue side, right? We have Queen and Best doing communications in chats because I think Best can hear Queen, but Queen can't hear Best. So in order to communicate, obviously you don't see Queen typing in the chats, but Best is typing, and
that's the thing we said earlier was like, get back, let's back out.
Yeah. And now Best is like, I think we lost.
I don't know. Yeah. Manghada is kind of like messed up. Like it's done. And now like the cannons are too slow. Like this is probably just game actually.
Oh my.
He has to cancel the cannons again. So
this is the best. This is
go, he says, but even with the surround here, I don't think...
No, he got it. They got it. I think.
The Marines are might throw back though, right? Like I think he defends this pretty easily.
Okay.
He doesn't even cancel the pylon. He just needs the money.
Well,
it's fastest.
I was about to say that.
So my experience of fastest growing up was everybody just made a bunch of cannons at the front of the choke. Because people would rush, and then they would just rush carriers or nukes or whatever, battle cruisers, Guardians at the time, was the Zerg strat. But this is like pro gamers playing fastest, so the rush they had tried failed. So now there is some like transition to this, but it's going to be hard. One thing else I think that's important to point out for fastest, for people who might not know about it, everyone who plays knows, but if you lift your command center off or lose your main base, you can't build on top of the stack anymore. You can still mine a lot, and your money is going to be quite good, but you will lose mining efficiency like crazy. So losing your actual first original base it's pretty bad. Like it's almost game losing. So just wanted to point that out in case this does go to a longer, crazier situation.
Nice cannons, but this seems a little bit too dangerous. I don't know if it's Stork right now getting attacked, and the counterattack does go through to Queen here. One sunken is not going to do the job, so now they're going to be trading here, and wow, this is fastest map possible for you guys.
Yeah, I think the trade favors Stork and Flash here, though. Like Flash, like T.E.N, he's got Marine Medic now. And
all right, well, we can like just for a slight translation, he's like Best is like, oh, I'm putting up robotics now. Why do they already have Dark Templars?
Yeah.
It just seems like Stork and Flash. It just seems like they enjoy. Oh wow.
Well, Queen's dead.
So what people usually do as quote unquote manner game, like having manners, is you would leave like one gas or like one like colony, so they can stay in the game and watch the game. But now they eliminated him, so now he has to leave the game.
He can't see, so he might be talking to Best. Well, Best can't even hear him on voice actually apparently. So like, I guess now it's just Best. Who has like, we're just gonna watch him die. This is really sad, but this is just how it is. Fastest map is really fun. I highly recommend trying it, especially if you're new to StarCraft. But in terms of pro games, like it usually looks something like this without the cannon rush.
Like, like I've been watching a lot of YouTube as well, and like I've seen like pros on, like not these pros, but like guys that are good in fastest map, like not good on the actual pro maps. So it's like when they play, it's insane. It's like it's a whole different game. So.
Oh, it really is. I mean, macro is still a thing. You have to obviously build really quickly off of all your buildings, but you get Flash unlimited money and an advantage. He doesn't care how many photon cannons you can build.
Yeah, the Marine medics are going to do the job here.
Marines are barely even dying here. GG, he leaves. Well, that means Flash and Stork going to take the 4 million. Probably going to split it evenly, you have to imagine.
Yep.
Flash might be like, well, I mean, it was my bunker that stopped the rush, and like I scouted the cannons, and I made a second bunker, so like, I think actually I deserve 2.5 million because I actually did more work.
And Stork won in set number 1, so he's like, yeah, you already got 2 mil from game number 1. He's like, give me, 0.5 more.
I have to be queen too. I mean, this is actually messing up my prep for the next series. Like,
I'm used to the mineral gathering for fastest now.
Stork's already searching himself on Neighbor. He's like, what are they saying? Like,
Oh my goodness.
no break, by the way. We're going straight into it, which is always what I like to see. No break in the action. So the maps are the same if you're tuning in late as our first best of 3 that we had, our first 1v1, Shakuras, Polypoid, and Circuit Breakers. Flash has selected T.E.N, as you could see in game, so he's not going to be playing random. He wants to play the TVZ out straight up.
All right, well, here we go. Yeah, we were talking, is Flash gonna random here, but maybe if he wins game 1, he might random in set number 2. Who knows?
He wants that 2 mil.
That's probably why. I don't want to risk it. I'm gonna play my turn. But here we go. This is gonna be interesting. We do have the vertical spawns here. TVZ always interesting to see. I hope it goes to a long game because we haven't gotten a single long game yet.
At this level of TVZ, besides a proxy or a quick bunker push, it usually goes longer than our second game by default. Our second map, remember the PvP, our second map, it usually goes longer than that. You don't usually see games that end that quickly in this matchup just because both races play at the highest level have so many ways to survive, buy time, trade in the middle of the map, deal with mutas, etc. There's never like a moment where at this level someone is like, oh, I was in the middle of the map and I didn't build turrets. Like, it's not like your ladder games where like some dude comes in with mutas and you're like, oh, I hate Zerg.
Exactly. So, stuff like that is going to happen. We'll see if anything interesting is going to happen. From what we've seen in the first series with Stork versus Best, seems like they're going to play the safe bet in game number 1 at least. So we're not going to see any cheeses or proxies coming from either side. TVZ is going to be a little bit slow in the beginning, I hope. Like, I'm saying what I'm hoping because I want to see a long game. I don't want to see any, rushes going through and, somebody just making a mistake with their micro and like losing a unit where they, don't have to.
Yeah, I mean, we have a pretty safe opening for both players. Yep. No CC first. It's not Flash of 2007, so he's going to actually build a barracks first. Yeah. And on the other side of things for Queen, spawning pool first into hatch. Just your standard safe. It's not going to be, Flash doesn't have 2 barracks in the middle of the map, like, nothing like that.
Yeah, we're sending the SCV build a cheese factory in their base and like just get vultures in.
It is a very fast spawning pool. I think it was a 9 pool or a 10 pool, so the Lings are out very early. Yeah. Flash is going to see this because of the no Overlord Scout. He sees the Lings now. He's in a second SCV. So he should be preparing with a bunker and an SCV wall. Block. Or it's not a bunker. This is in StarCraft 2.
Yeah, SCV block on the ramps with one Marine should do it, but he's gonna just keep putting on.
He'll have a second Marine and a third one there soon. The Lings will have to target the SCVs individually if they want to really try to break this because the SCVs will be on stop position.
Yep.
But because he saw it, like I think if you don't see this, then you might die, or you'll at least lose a lot of SCVs. They have 60 health, so like you probably wouldn't just die to the Lings. But in any case, if you don't see it, you're in trouble. But because no one's going to just blind put their SCVs there and lose mining. But he saw it with a second SCV. He's fine.
It would have been interesting for Flash not to see the Lings and see him kind of have a slow start per se with losing a couple SCVs, microing them with the Marines to get rid of the Lings. Like obviously those 6 Ling rush is not gonna kill Flash, especially when you're T.E.N. But like allowing a T.E.N a slow start, especially on a TVZ, like it's more interesting to see because now with nothing going for Queen here, he literally got nothing out of the 6 lings that he's just gonna scout with it now.
Yeah, well, I mean, the lings will push this SCV around. It's actually kind of funny and ironic that with the slower build, Flash actually gets the full scout, but that's just how lings work without speed. The one thing I will say that I feel Queen does get is he forces the command center to be built on the high ground. It's a small thing, but the command center is built on the high ground, and he's gonna have to float it, so slows things down a little bit. Academy's already on the way, but Queen is, as soon as he sees the SCVs are blocking the ramp and he can't do anything, he doesn't waste his lings, doesn't force the break. He rushes out the Spire quickly afterwards. He started his lair pretty early. After seeing that SCV wall almost immediately. He was mining gas, so he's got speed now. Let's see if he can
get a couple, but I don't think
he gets one. Actually, he almost got 2. Like, the fact that he even got 1 is kind of like, it's pretty sneaky. He's gonna trade. That was actually pretty good for him, I'd say.
Yeah, it was better than nothing. But now Spider's going up, and I don't think Flash has any idea whether he's going like Hydra Lurkers or Spire.
Yeah, he just saw the lair. He does know there's no Lurkers yet because obviously there was no Hydrogen when he's scouted. You can rush that out before lair. But at this point he's probably expecting a big drone, like a big drone set here, like trying to build a bunch of drones for Queen. So he's going to push across the map right now and force some things out. Nice around here. The Sunken finishes just in time, so this actually gets pushed back pretty easily. The Academy just finished just a few moments ago, so he doesn't have stim yet.
Nope.
You can see it's researching with the flashing lights there.
Yeah, there we go. The timing for the engineering bay is perfect for the mutas. If Best decides to go right away, which he probably won't, Flash is going to have a couple turrets ready, and the medics are on their way here. And now, Flash is going to want to pressure a little bit, but now, with the Sunkens being built in the front of the base, he's not going to be able to do so with just a couple medics and the Marines.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens with the mutas coming out from Queen.
He's going to have, he is going right away. The turrets should be done. It's almost finished now here, the one just underneath the gas. It actually scans just to verify Spire for sure, which he was, I mean, you kind of assume when you see no Hydrogen, like you said before, you can't know for sure. But he reasonably expected that he had turrets up line to be safe, which are good against Lurkers too, obviously. He even has the 3rd one here in the mineral line.
Here we go.
Some isolated Marines. This is just Terran's nightmare.
Yep. We have the patrol control, obviously, coming in with the mutas. We'll see how many SCVs can show us. There we go. Yeah, he's gonna be picking off a couple SCVs and a couple Marines as well. And this is where it really becomes important for the Zerg, especially because he has to constantly bother the Terran player here to spread his units instead, so he can't do like a counter rush or to get or try to kind of pressure his expansions. Where there's a saying where if it's a TVZ, when Terran has 1 expansion, Zerg is going to need 1+ expansion to beat a Terran player in mid to late game. Right now it's still early game, I guess I want to say, but like you see, Best is getting not Best, Queen is getting his 3rd expansion here as he is pressuring Flash. So this is going Best Queen's way.
Yeah, Queen's in a little bit of trouble with these mutas though. Looks like he only loses 2. He really wants that turret. I don't know if he lost a 3rd muta there. He lost 2 before. Yeah, he lost a 3rd one. So losing 3 mutas.
Oh no,
bad rally.
The wrong way.
Okay, he saves them at least. This is actually a really opportune moment for Flash to push across the map.
But this one was actually pretty bad for Flash, losing I think like 5 to 6 Marines here.
Let's see what the Marines can do if they.
This is bothering me.
He's gonna group them together.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see what Flash can get done once he groups the rest of the Marines together, because the mutas obviously want to, at these positions, because you're close vertically, he wants to be able to slow this push down and maybe catch some stray Marines as they're trying to link up, but like eventually the punch will hit the face, right?
Yeah.
And he's gonna go, looks like, straight for the 3rd base here.
All right, so the 11 muta stack is going into Flash's main base.
No repair.
This is gonna hurt.
Yeah, no repair, so this is actually disastrous. Yeah.
Yeah, you can see Flash trying to, he tried to go for that counter push at his third expansion, he did keep a couple Marines there, but his bases.
He's not only losing SCVs, but he's losing a decent amount of Marines here as well, because this is, like you said, it was a full stack, so he is able to just one-shot Marines, and obviously SCV is with it. And he still hasn't even cleared this off yet. He's sent half of his attacking force back, and he's not going to die to this, obviously, but he's taken quite a significant amount of damage, and killing the hatchery alone, I don't know if that's worth it, right? It wasn't even a mining hatchery. I'd say we're still at a fairly even game, but I think Queen is pretty happy to trade a lot of SCVs for a hatchery he wasn't mining from just yet. That was fairly early.
Yeah, that's definitely a good point, but like I said, Queen is definitely going to want to, or needs to, keep the pressure on and get a third hatchery and get it mining, especially for gas as well. So yes, the third one going down without having any drones there wasn't a huge hit, but he needs to start getting a third one that starts to mine, because now if Flash starts to build up, it's going to hurt him badly in the late game.
Yeah, he's killing some turrets here, so that means that he can continue to pick off Marines. To be Johnny on the spot with that micro though, and does end up getting losing a few more mutas, but the trade here is pretty good, because he's, you know, a lot of the time you think of mutas harass as just killing SCVs, but actually killing Marines keeps the Marine count low so that he doesn't die to a follow push, and I think he's starting to make some real traction here. Like this is looking pretty terrible for Flash. He's lost so much, he's had to make so many turrets.
Yeah, you have to keep in mind that the mutas are +1 attack upgraded. Marines are upgraded as well, but the stacked mutas with the upgrade, with the bouncing hits, is going to hurt a lot more. A nice scan, though.
Yeah, that was a good scan. He's starting to feel desperate. He's bringing the rest of the Marines back right now.
Yep, you can see that Queen is going to all in with this. He's going to just try to finish the game with the constant mutas popping up. He's not even trying to go for a third expansion.
Yeah, look at the lings coming out. You can see coming from his natural. Like they just got rallied to his natural. I think you're 100% right. He's not going to make a lurker transition. Ooh, definitely looking away for a second there, I think, but
he has to get rid of all these Marines before the 5 Marines at the top group up, and they're finally here.
The lings that we were talking about in the Fallout push, it looks like he is a little bit slow to send them across the map. You can see them on the mini-map now. I don't know if this is going to be enough to end the game. I think he actually has to expand. He can kind of contain Flash here.
No, like
there's a bunker.
No. Yes and no, but if you see Flash's minerals, like he's literally just busy popping out SCVs and Marines to defend. So it's like he can't get any, you know, upgraded units. He can't get a Goliath out. He can't get any vultures or tanks out right now. So like Queen all-inning with the Zerglings is forcing Flash to just all in with SCVs and Marine medic here. So it's like, as long as Queen doesn't make a stupid mistake and go AFK and like let all the mutas die, I think this will continue on for a little more.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not going to end right now. But yeah, Flash is in a really dire spot. Queen's not going to be able to end the game right now, but he's going to continue to contain Flash, continue to pick off these Marines, SCVs as much as he can.
This one was a little bit of a risk and get those 2 mutas out, but I think that one just died.
Yeah, both of them. But he's still getting damage done. You know, like he one lapse of looking elsewhere, like focusing on his micro here, cost him 2 mutas, but he's still winning these exchanges. I'd say it sucks to lose 2 mutas, and it is going to hurt, but he'll be all right. He's got Sunkens at home too, so a counter push, which is, as you said, kind of Flash's best option at this point. You know, it's going to be hard for him to end the game with it.
Well, I think, yeah, you're correct.
He can hit the third, right?
Yeah.
That's what he can get before lurkers are ready. He can, you know, try to deny this third base, and I think he's gotten here just in time to do it.
Definitely, he has no defense. He has nothing to defend against it. He has some damaged mutas and a couple of lings, but that's not going to do the job.
He has +1 armor now too on his Marines.
Yeah,
so he gets the third. He splits his Marines again. And, you know, like, Muta's here still doing damage, but now we're getting to the point where he keeps losing his third, Queen does.
Yeah.
So he has to make a choice. Does he tech to lurkers, or does he just kind of keep ling Muta until he can get a third? Because Flash's army is getting more and more efficient all the time. I think he will need those lurkers, or eventually, even though he's done damage, Flash's army just becomes too big, and he could just kill him. So I'd love to see a shot of the base to see if lurker prep has been done. And yeah, it is. You can see he's researching that now and getting a hive. He is in desperate need of some AoE damage.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Queen definitely had the upper hand at the beginning. Obviously, Flash made the right choice to keep 5 Marines for the to get rid of the third base that Queen was going for, and got rid of that. That was a big decision making there by Flash, and I think that's the reason why, even though Queen had the upper hand in the early game with Mutas, getting rid of a lot of Marines on the series, but now, like you were saying, Flash is stacking up on Marines, getting the upgrades done, and now the tables have turned.
Yeah, this is the scary part, right? If he doesn't have lurkers ready, he might just lose the game right here, because he did a lot of echo damage.
Yep.
And he does not have lurkers ready. Like, he didn't kill enough of the army.
Yeah,
I think those are just regular eggs, too. I don't think those are lurker eggs hatching at the hatchery. So there's just too much damage output here. This is actually a really sad way for Queen, you know, if you're a Queen fan, to watch him lose here, because he had such a great set of harassment. But it just goes to show, you build a big enough Terran army, if there are no lurkers, you will end up dying to what's one of the most cost-efficient armies in the game. You need AoE to deal with Marine Medic.
Yeah, definitely. And you know, remember what I said? I was a Zerg player and I switched to Protoss. This is exactly why, right? Like, I was a big Muta fan, so like I understand, like, oh yeah, you know, get the Overlord, or you know, group it with the Larva and get that full stack with the patrol control, get the miners, get the workers, get the Marines. You can only go you can only last so long, right, with that, and you just saw that happen in game number 1.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people might say what went wrong was spending too much gas on Mutas, not transitioning to the Hydras quickly enough. But I think another option might have been just trying to get a little bit more information about where Flash was going to move across to deny the third, because he sent small groups of units, obviously, to deny. Like, he sent the big army, then split it, right?
Yeah.
To defend, and that's always the ping pong game you have to play with Zerg. Okay, he's killing my third base. Can I stop him with my units? Like, maybe not directly, so I have to go harass him to try to bring him back. But when he'd sent half of his units back, or even sometimes 3/4 of his units back, I feel like those are the moments where Queen needed to stop the Marines from killing the third, or try to set up defense there. It's really hard to deal with a Terran push that keeps coming across the map nonstop. If it was cross spawns, might have been an easier game for Queen, but doesn't happen. He transitioned to lurkers a little bit too slowly, and he just dies to the follow-up push there. Flash didn't have science vessels or anything like that. He would have had to scan to push through. It would have been a lot harder for him to end the game.
Agreed. And also, one little thing I want to point out. I know these players are legends, but they're not AlphaGos. They're not perfect AIs, right? So, like, what I want to point out is Queen, you saw him rally his Mutas, and I'm pretty sure at least 4 to 5 rallied Mutas literally died doing nothing, like staying there by himself. So like those small mistakes, I think if he had those small mistakes kind of covered up and not let the Mutas, expensive Mutas, die to the Marines, I think maybe, possibly, with the slightest chance, he could have had, or just that game number 1 could have gone a little bit longer.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, if he didn't lose all those stray Mutas like you were talking about, we are going to have the same exact spawn verticals here. Flash obviously on top this time, but same vertical spawns on this map. But yeah, if you save all those Mutas and you actually end up, you know, in a position where you have that extra gas, like those extra Mutas don't mean he just like breaks Flash's neck and wins the game. But maybe he gets lurkers a little bit faster because he didn't have to replace them with more gas, right? And things can change. So yeah, I do agree. And you know, Flash didn't have absolutely perfect moments either. His first response to the Mutas was a little bit slow. He didn't repair the turret, so ended up losing a lot of SCVs, a lot of mining time. It's a very back and forth game, and just goes to show StarCraft is hard. These are the 2 best players in the world, most would argue.
Yeah. Definitely. And you know, you mentioned cost efficient, right, with Marine Medics, like upgraded attack and defense. So it's like when that starts to happen and you're still going all in with the 2 hatchery mutalings, right? And then eventually, after losing his third twice, he ended up making a 3rd hatchery in his base. But like when that happens and you basically all in mutalings in the beginning as a Zerg player against a Terran, like, yeah, you're gonna get rid of a lot of turrets, SCVs, and Marines, but unless you literally just get a command center down, right? Like you force something drastic to happen for a Terran, like you're not gonna win. So like you were talking about, a transition into the Hydras, into the Lurkers was a little bit late, even though Queen did have the upper hand in the early game. So we'll see if Queen decides to switch things up here in game number 2, because if Flash gets this win, it is over.
Yep.
This whole series is
yep.
over.
The whole night of StarCraft is over.
Yeah. That's way too fast for me.
He actually tries to force his way in here. Really, really, really nice micro by Queen. Yeah. Trading the drone, because the SCV will beat the drone 1v1.
Yep.
And if you mess it up, like the SCV could potentially like kill 2, depending on how it happens. I mean, not by himself, but like he leaves, kills 1, then comes back with another one, whatever. Those things can happen, but he's not going to beat 2. But the way he did it there was he perfectly traded so that the SCV couldn't scout.
Yep.
Doesn't lose the 1v1, gets replaced. Drones will regen health, but not quickly enough to stop that, because SCVs have 60 health, so really well done.
Definitely well done. And obviously, not being able to scout, he's not going to know if he's going to go for that, fast pull into the second hatchery, or he's just going to go straight 3 hatchery into the pool. So like, he has no information, so now Flash is kind of curious. He can't do it.
Yeah, it's killing the 2 drones. What I was really talking about, he is the Marine that comes, right?
There we go.
And he will break through this time. And that second drone, as bruised earlier, is regened a little bit, but he's got Lings out. But regardless, Flash does get to see the macro hatch here in the main base.
There we go.
He's trying to look for that weaken drone. You see?
Yep.
You can get 2 if you find him. He only gets 1 in this case, but
good call.
Could have gotten 2. SCV 1 kill. Did he actually get both? I don't think so. I think he only got 1.
Yeah, I think the SCV got 1. The Marine got killed off right away, and yes, a full scout into Queen's base. But, that scout is just going to give him so much information, because you guys saw Flash went for that early double CC right there. So this is going to be really, really hard for Queen at the start, because that 3rd hatchery that he got in his base, right? It could have been a 3rd expansion instead. We see a lot of that. But he had no information about the super fast. Well, actually, no, he did have Overlord there. So that's why he got his 3rd real quick.
Yes, exactly. He had the Overlord because he has vertical spawns. He scouted vertically, didn't scout horizontally. So he sees that, and this is why Flash is like, yep, I gotta push this away. But what sometimes you see when you see a fast 3rd and you see the macro hatch like this is a Hydra bust.
Yeah.
He might, I mean, he's making a lair right now, so I don't think it's going to be a hyper-aggressive Hydra bust, but we'll see. Still no Den, so looks like it is going to be that Spire transition.
Yep.
Both options are viable at these spawning locations. Hydras can cross the distance by ground pretty quickly at vertical spawns, but looks like he wants to go more standard.
Yeah.
Lairs coming up, Mutas can cross that air distance even faster, just like we saw in the previous game.
So yeah, we're gonna definitely be expecting Mutas into the Hydras, into probably the Defilers if we even get to that point. But for now, we're gonna see the Spire.
There's the Spire, yeah.
But the front, he might need a couple more Sunkens there. Firebat coming out as well.
Yeah, he really wants to be aggressive. The Firebat is like, I am trying to kill you.
Yeah, there we go. The double Sunken.
It should be ready in time. He wanted to grab this medic. Nice attempt, but it gets shut down. Feels bad too when you have your Lings out here, because they're almost never going to make it home. So you got to try to do something. Forces a stim, almost gets a Firebat, but buys time for those Sunkens to finish. Flash stimmed, but I don't think he can commit here. He just doesn't have enough information about how many Lings are there. If he commits and fails, he dies to the Mutas. Like, he just straight up dies.
Exactly, but he's going to commit
He's
here.
going.
With the Firebats going in first to tank a couple of the shots from the Sunkens, and he's going to commit here. He gets a couple drones that come out.
You know what? Like, the Firebats lived for a really long time there. He killed the drones. I think he's pretty happy to just take that trade and go home.
He's definitely going to go home, and he saw the Spire with the scan. I don't know exactly where he scanned. I'm pretty sure in his base, so he saw the Spire. 3 hatch Mutas is going to be a little bit more pressuring for Flash compared to the double hatch that we saw in game number 1. So we'll see if this will be a game maker for Queen, because he needs this game here.
Yeah. He made, I think, 4 Mutas already.
Yep.
Looks like 5 actually. And so there's the 6th one coming out. So this first wave of Mutas is is no joke. He has the triple turret, the barracks turret, and both CCs set up. Gonna look for the, looks like wanted to look for the barracks turret first.
Well, here we go. I want to point out that even though, yes, it is a 3-hatch muta coming out, but also for Flash, he had a lot more time to prep for the muta, so it's basically kind of like the same. Like in game number 1, the double hatch fast mutas, and Flash obviously was less prepared. In this game number 2, Flash definitely a little bit more prepared with the turrets in his expansion, as well as the barrack turrets that you saw with the Marine medics being ready with the bunker in his expansion as well. So it's not going to make a huge difference here.
Yeah, this is a full stack of mutas. You can see the one missing, but that's the Overlord spot for the micro. The other thing that's different in this game, obviously, besides him not taking a 3rd hatch early, as he is checking to make sure there's no Marines. Like he checked first this time, no Marines to block my drone. He's going to go for the bottom left expansion. But also, it's a much faster transition to Lurker Tech and Hive. Queen's Den's already being made right now. Oh, no, cannot be missing that one though. Ends up only losing 1, but takes a lot of damage.
All right, well.
But yeah, he sees. He sees these Marines. His Flash just. I mean, it's pretty common to take that bottom left base, but he's just assuming that it's there.
Well, we did hear a scan. I'm curious. I was about to point out.
Yeah.
Did he scan 7 o'clock just by random? Just like thinking, all right, he's gonna get a 3rd, but he's not gonna go 6 o'clock. He's gonna try to kind of, keep it far away, to split my units, and maybe he did scan 7 o'clock.
He may have. Either way, his intuition, as thousands of pro games he's played, is good enough for him to know. Because this is timing for this. It's normal to take a main base on a 4-player map. He's just going to send this small group over here. Overlord sees it. He has to either, Lurkers can morph and buy a lot of time. If he morphs 1 egg here on the ramp, it's basically unlimited time. So he's going to wait till the last second. He's a morph.
There we go. Cancel. One more.
Okay, you might want to make sure it was a full block because the egg has I mean, you could see it basically
it's 1 damage.
It's 4. Yeah, it's 1. The armor just forces 1 damage per shot. I was struggling to figure out how to say that. Thank you. It should buy enough time for these 2 lurkers, but they're not going to be on top of the ramp. I think he actually gets through this. Oh, it's going to be close.
Right in the.
Yeah, he gets through the ramp.
Yeah, he does get through, but the mutas are here.
There's mutas.
Still going to be good enough with the 6-stack mutas, I assume.
He's got more Marines coming. He's got Lings coming up. This is still going to be a close fight. There's actually almost too many medics here.
Yeah, but it's okay. He got it. The muta stacks.
Yeah, he's got to defend.
Will defend, but once again, this is just Flash pressuring, right? He has a science facility up already. We're gonna see some vessels coming out, going Defiler right away. Like I said, finally we get to see some, Defiler action as well. We're gonna see some swarms and plays.
Yeah, this is actually a much better game than the first one, I feel. And we're kind of getting towards that mid-game now, completely. Instead of, it felt like we were just trapped in early game last game.
The reason, for any of you guys joining a little bit late, our first series was super quick, right? Our first game of this first series was super quick as well. So, we're wanting for that long, interesting game, and finally it seems like we're going to get some.
Yeah, Flash sending that second group of Marines to the bottom left was a bit puzzling to me because...
Correct. I saw you look at me.
Because, he had, I gave you the look of, I'm not sure about that one. Because he had the lurkers there already. And, 2 lurkers on top of a ramp can kill, 20,000 Marines. We'll have to micro this irradiate. Ooh, mismicros it. It's okay.
Oh, well, there's a second one.
But he had the lurkers there already, and with a larger force of Marines, he didn't break it. With a smaller one, it was a little bit weird that he went for that. He ended up losing a chunk, which means now that this much larger force that he's moving towards the natural with is missing some key Marines, right? And he needs to be careful. The vessel's that far forward because Scourge are out there.
I think they missed it. Scourge is at 3 o'clock right now, so he's not there yet. He's gonna bring it in now from the back. We'll see if the Scourges will get the science facility. We'll see what he's going to get right now. But as this is happening, Flash is getting his 3rd expo here.
Yeah, this is a lot of pressure for that 3rd base. It's really good that you pointed that out because this is not, barring a huge mistake or something crazy happening, this is not a push to end the game, but it is a push to give him space to make that 3rd base. And he now looks like, with the science vessel count that he's got, he wants to hit these lurkers that are stacked on top of the ramp with their radiate, so he can finally break that ramp.
Well, like you were saying, Flash is just literally just getting control over the maps. He wants terrain control. Obviously, as Terran, he doesn't want anything sneaky happening, especially with like, the sneaky expos that Zerg's usually like doing. And now he doesn't know. There's only 3 lurkers stacked here. The Filers come out.
I don't know about that Dark Swarm, but
just did it.
I mean, it's not.
Just for the heck of it. And wow, 4th expo coming in from Flash, and Nidus Canal is made as well. But I will point out that 3 expos for Zerg against a 4 expo Terran is not gonna end well for the Zerg.
Yeah, Dark Storm's not gonna protect you against Irradiate.
No.
He has like more vessels than there are Scourge. Like it almost looked like Flash considered irradiating a Scourge. You know what I mean? It's like
hey, you want to come to my size vessel? I'm gonna just irradiate your Scourge.
No, I mean that's the point we're at right now, where there's just there's Flash can play so forward with these vessels because there's only 4 Scourge here. Yeah. And so it's a pretty nice position for him.
Yeah.
Like that hatchery feels like a pipe dream on the low ground there. I mean, he just has so many units, and he's just irradiating like each individual lurker. Oh, goodness. It's buying time though with these Dark Swarms, and it's gonna force him back.
Yeah, Flash definitely has to do this. Like even though it feels like, what am I doing with just vessels, right? I have a ton of Marines, but obviously, if lurkers, lings, like they start to stack with defilers coming out, like it's not gonna matter how many vessels you have. Like you're gonna be overtaken by swarms and plagues and just lings under the swarm. So Flash is trying to keep the Zerg in check by irradiating all the lurkers that he could find. But we'll see, because like I was pointing out, Flash having more expos or even equal amount of expansions compared to Queen is going to end up giving Flash the upper hand.
Yeah, I mean, Flash is pumping double vessels. Yeah. Like that's what the Korean observers are showing right now. It's like, okay, he's got two control towers on his starports, and he has 8 vessels. Yeah. Like that means basically every minute to a minute and a half, like he can kill a lurker with each vessel. It means like 8 dead lurkers per minute, as long as he's actually using his energy, which he is. And like, he doesn't even get a single vessel here because there's enough Marines to protect. The Scourge count is too low. And even though like he's hanging on here and surviving, Flash has such a good position on the map, economy-wise. Now he's got enough fire bats just like, I don't care about the Dark Swarm. This might actually be the beginning of the end, because like he's trying to transition to Ultras.
Yeah, that is definitely...
Like, look at this vessel count. This is actually, I've never even seen this.
Yeah.
I've never seen this before. He did Plague it. That's actually the most value of a televised Plague ever.
Usage, yeah.
That's a record, I think, for how much damage on one Plague.
But either way, what I was kind of wanting to see from Flash is he has so many vessels, he could just irradiate his vessels and go into the mining field for Queen and just literally get rid of all of his drones. But
is there a term for that in Korean? We call it eraser. I don't know if that came from Koreans, actually.
Yeah. You can erase.
Yeah.
Jiuge.
Yeah. Erase. Literally erase.
Yeah, literally erasers.
So, I mean, this is actually... Like, this is almost BM at this point. Is he repairing the vessels over there? Like, he might be. This got a science facility in the middle of the map. That floating science facility in the middle of the map, I feel like is a symbol of where we are in this game. Like,
exactly. It's like, I have control.
This science facility is like, I'm gonna go take care of some Scourge. Okay, he is gonna find this, like, plagued vessel dump over here and get a few of those. But like,
he's trying to repair it. He does get rid of most of it, but I'm gonna be honest, it's not gonna matter.
Yeah.
It's not gonna matter.
Like
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 expansions for, a total of 6 bases for Flash. As a Terran player, this is already...
I mean, what does it mean, like, if Mutalisk, like, if you're trying to split Mutalisk against Irradiate, what if each vessel has its own private Muta to Irradiate?
He's like, alright, Swarm, I'm still gonna just go in with Marines. I don't care because I have so much money. Look at Flash's head.
Yeah.
You usually don't see Flash or even Queen get over 1,000 minerals left over.
So does the answer to the kind of hypothetical question that you posited earlier about like, okay, if Flash made the finals versus Queen, would he win? The answer might be like, depends on how many games of Terran he gets. the first game was very close.
Yeah.
This game, I mean, it's by no means unwinnable because Ultras are out for Queen now.
Yeah.
But Flash has probably got factories going up back at home.
Let's hope so, because now the Ultras, like you pointed out, Ultra Swarm is still going to be, you know, a little bit of a problem coming through for Flash.
Yeah, the fact that he has a million, billion, trillion vessels like is quite helpful, but
yeah, but when this happens, right? Like, yeah, you can send your Ultra, and I have 6 bases. I'm gonna just macro the crap out of my Marines, and you know.
He's got no lurkers here too, and then like this is, I mean, the DPS of an Ultra is quite high, but it's only single target. And this is a numbers game that I don't think Queen comes out ahead on.
Might be a GG coming through.
I think so.
Because you saw the Ultra, like the 2-3 Ultras that were going up to Flash's base, got played, so it eventually died at the end of the day, right? Like.
Yeah, they got radiated.
They radiated, and then it eventually died. So like it wasn't able to do too much. And like I said, six bases, mass production of Marine medics and fire bats is just gonna be enough for a couple of Ultras.
Yeah, and there's the factory depot, if you will, the factory section of the map now. Flash is like expanding his business into factories now. He's like, I hear factories are the new thing. You know, factories are quite big. I should probably invest. Late game factories, you know, that's what everybody's buying nowadays. The marine medic industry is dying, so we're gonna have to invest in some late game tech. That one Ultra is like actually killing a bunch of zerglings.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. This is looking grim for Queen. I know, like he definitely did a great job, like staying. He only has 2 expansions, excluding his main base. A total of 3 bases.
There's the
defensive matrix coming through. The show.
Yeah, I mean, with the amount of vessels that Flash had, he practically could have given each Marine its own defense matrix. Flash winked at me too. He was like, "That's what I was thinking."
Yeah. That was really quick.
Yeah, I mean, it was quicker than we expected. I mean, we did get to. I don't want to say we went to full late game because Flash's factories weren't done, but we got Ultra Tech, which is kind of like the beginning of the end of the mid game. But
Ultra Swarm Plague is basically. Right?
Yeah, you know, like that used to be like only late game, but I feel like now like Plague, or you know, Plague and Defilers and Dark Swarm is kind of like still mid game in a game like this. But then, like when the factories start making vultures, that's when it's like it's late game. Let's take a look at our results. Instead of memeing on Flash having like 17 science vessels that game. 2-0 for Stork over Best in the Protoss vs. Protoss. Stork massively outplaying Best, especially on Polypoid, having the build order lead on Shakuras, but way outplaying him on that second map. Then Flash and Stork winning on fastest map possible in the 2v2 by defending the Cannon Rush Ling attack. And then our final series of the night, the finals that never was, Flash not randoming, playing T.E.N, and defeating Queen 2-0. First game very close back and forth, Mita harass. A second game though, taking an early lead, taking the whole map, having 2 port vessels, just eventually wore Queen down.
Yeah, definitely. 2 port vessels was huge. I also want to point out, right? 6 expos versus 3 expos, and the 6 was Terran, and the 3 was Zerg. So you know, you get the point, right? Like when you hear that, it's like, oh, why is the game even still going on, right? So yeah, in set number 2 for both round number 1 and round 3, Stork definitely outplayed Best as well as Flash outplayed Queen. If you guys joined in a little bit late, you guys can maybe watch the VOD to see how it went down, because as you guys know, all these 4 players are basically legends of Broodlord.
Yep. We're gonna have an interview, and Ending and I will try to get this interpreted for you if we can hear it. It's very faint.
Yeah.
I'll be quiet so I don't break your ears now because I just turned your volume up super high.
Yeah. But I actually don't hear anything at all, unfortunately.
Yeah, I can't really hear either.
뭔가 제가 게임할 때보다 너무 발전된
Okay, so we did get word that we are in Seoul right now. We're supposed to be getting this feed
좋은 추억 쌓고 가는 것 같아요.
for the interview.
좋은 추억이 맞나요?
아,
아까 빨무할 때
네.
Can you hear it?
Yeah, I can.
의도한 겁니까?
아 의도 안 했는데 제 디스코드
So they're asking about the 2v2 in the fastest
저
map
채팅
possible.
쳤는데 영훈이가
happened?
오더가 진짜 안 좋더라고요. 저는 이제 다들 최근 우승자니까 믿고 따랐어요. 영호 본체는 포트러시 하재요.
So
해본
what I'm getting is, since Queen was the most recent winner, he just followed his
근데 이게
calls.
빠른 무한이 원래 저그가 안 좋아가지고 초반에 어떻게든 승부를 봐야 되거든요.
So he wanted to do
근데
the
그렇게
cannon
너무
rush with the Zerg
상하게 할
kind
줄
of
몰랐어요, 저도.
mass macroing with Zerglings to finish one off to make it 2v1, but it didn't work out. And now Queen on the interview mic saying that, you know, Zerg is actually the worst race on fastest map possible. So you know that's what happened. So they're both literally right now, Flash, not Flash, Queen and Best are giving each other excuses of why they lost the fastest map.
반대로 어떤 채팅이 또 오갔는지도 궁금하거든요. 이용호 선수
Now the question was, what kind of communications we're going through
그냥 좀 편안했고요.
in round number 2, Flash and Stork on the same team.
각별 역시나 안 벗어나더라고요. 그래서 이 오더가 누군가
Flash is saying that he
정글로
expected a
디스코드를
cannon
하면서도
rush,
굉장히
and he was like, we predicted a cannon rush on whichever, and Flash was like, yeah, you know, my prediction was 100% on spot. We were able to defend it off. That's why he told Stork to go mass zealots in the early game to just in case they cannon rush, and it actually worked out.
Not to mention his quick bunker reaction.
영호가 이제 또 빨무를 잘하거든요. 그래서 빌드 같은 거를 이제 오더나 움직임 같은 거 영호가 주고 이제 그냥 뭐 정석대로 했는데 갑자기 캐논러시 한다고 해가지고 미니맵 보고 화면 보니까 되게
Yeah, so what Stork is saying, he allowed Flash to kind of call out, you know, the shot calls in game, and when he heard, there might be a possible cannon rush, he was like, okay, I'm gonna go with like the standard build of just early zealots with like 4 or 5 gateways early on in the fastest map possible. And when he started doing that, he saw the cannon rush, and he was like, okay, I guess it's gonna be an easy win, and he just went through with it, and it definitely wasn't easy.
No.
탈로
It
원래는 더
was.
이득을 볼 수 있었는데 오늘 생각보다는 잘 안 됐던 것 같아요. 그래가지고 좀 더 이득을 볼 수
Yeah, it got, like,
있었던
really quiet from
장면에서
the
살짝 실수가 있어가지고 이길 수도 있었던 것 같은데 좀 아쉽긴 해요.
We might have lost our feed.
I still have it.
You have it?
선수들도 부산에 오랜만에 또
I'll leave it
내려와서
to you.
부산 e스포츠 경기장이 또 세워졌고 이곳에서 경기를 다 해보셨잖아요.
So this is actually a
오늘 선수
stadium
인터뷰를
built
하셨는데
very
김명호
recently.
선수도
So this
이곳
event
경기장에
match
오신 소감과 어떤
is
것
happening
같아요? 계속
because
발전하고
they're trying to celebrate this build of this esports arena in Busan. Unfortunately, the pandemic is not going to allow any audiences to be there. You can see all of them having masks on, but yeah, this is definitely an event to celebrate. I'm pretty sure, I'm excited to see more tournaments being held here in this stadium.
Me too.
Yeah. Maybe one day in the future we might be able to go there when all the COVID-19 thing goes away.
I hope so, man. Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
보고 계신 또
Well, it seems like that is it for the interviews. There were like a couple more questions. I wasn't able to get clear feed for the questions, but I think they would ask about the 1v1s, but I think they you know didn't feel like asking the 1v1s. It might get too personal and stuff like that because it was so one-sided for both maps. So I think they were just sticking with the 2v2s.
I think the first one was not that one-sided. I mean, yeah, the ending was, but like...
Oh, yeah.
And there was some Muta mistakes or whatever, but I thought the first one was pretty close. It was, of the 4 1v1s we played, I think it was the closest one.
Yeah. It probably was.
At least on that scale.
Yeah,
Like,
on
I'll
that
give
scale,
that one
yeah.
the close game. The close game, like, star, like, stamp, close game on it.
All right, out of the 4, indeed.
Well, I just wanted to say it was a pleasure casting this with you, Ending Life.
Yep.
Didn't end up going the full distance today, but it was really nice. It's very cold here in Seoul.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone got to go down to Busan, have a good time. We cast it here in Seoul, and it's always fun to cast some Brood War. Really enjoyed it. Thanks to everyone at home who tuned in and watched. Thanks to some of you guys who I know are spreading the word about this, trying to get people in here. Do appreciate that. Any final thoughts, Ending, before we close this out?
Well, like you just pointed out, I hoped that it would have gone, at least one of the 1v1s would have gone to all 3 sets to see some late game plays, some micros and macro managements. But unfortunately, we did not get to see too much of that, and all the games ended pretty early, except for the last one, maybe mid game a little bit with the finals.
Yeah, we were about to like just barely touch the late game.
Yeah,
like the factories were finishing. You know, we were almost there. But yeah, that's gonna do it for myself and Ending Life. Thank you guys so much for watching our 10th 10 here with our Brood War players. We'll see you guys next time.
Okay, well, we will see you guys next time, but until the Korean side ends, I think they want us to be talking a little bit more about the game. So yeah, like to be honest, like it was fun, but now we get the word that we actually have.
It's an old school Korean broadcast, guys. Always got to follow the Korean feed. Again, thank you so much for watching.
Yep.
Hope we have more of these and hope to see you guys in the next Brood War Show match. See you then.